Hello. Hi, good evening, everybody. I would like to call the meeting to order at 6:32 p.m., and we will begin with the Pledge of Allegiance. Okay, I am very excited about our recognitions this evening. On April 2nd, our central office and Ms. Ross received the following letter. Hello, Kimberly and everyone at Duanesburg Central School. Our daughter bought a big random box of records from someone in Watertown. In that box, I found this album from your school. I never found a date on it. Curious what year it's from. I emailed you, and I wanted to send it back home to your school, and you indeed would like it back. So here it is. It belongs with all of you. I pray it makes it safely. I had to make a box, so don't look too hard at that. Sincerely, Joe Morrow. P.S. We are upstate, about a 30-minute drive from Canada. Your album did some traveling. So, with that, so we have this cool thing cover. It says Duanesburg Central School, the Robed Choir, Gordon Mason, director, and it has a list of the sopranos, tenors, altos, and basses. There are quite a large number of individuals in this choir. So,
like 1950s. Yeah.
Tony knows some people, so.
That's just me.
Listen, you didn't hear what she was saying before. Anyway, I'm going to play it. All right. I feel like I'm super loud today, Deck. No? It's not bad? Okay. Oh, all right. It's not very unpleasant for me. I also would like to, this isn't on my list, but I'm just going to shout out to our transportation team and to the students in the bus crash the other day. Monday? Yesterday? Oh my gosh, was yesterday? Time is not a thing. They responded calmly and positively. I heard that students were wishing they could get off the bus to help the woman who had hit them, or who had driven into their path. And I'm very grateful, I think we all are, that no one was injured more seriously. And our driver was calm, cool, and collected, is my understanding, in a pretty devastating crash. So thank you. Who it is? Phil? Was Phil? It was Phil. So thank
How's
you.
he
Phil.
doing? Good.
Okay.
I'm sure.
Sore and a little shaken up, I would imagine. So, yeah. Did he come back to work today? Oh, good for him. Okay. I was going to say, because I would not have expected him to be here today. All right. Very good. All right. Did I miss anything? Anybody else have anything? Okay. Hold on one moment. Oh, my goodness. I did that. Now it's too big. All right. Next, we have board discussion of agenda. Do we have any questions? Any changes? Oh, that's the next one. But any questions or concerns or comments on the agenda for this evening's meeting? Okay. Then, Serena, we don't have any agenda changes since this came out, right? Okay. So we'll start with a resolution. Be it resolved upon the recommendation of the superintendent that the Board of Education approve the agenda for the regular meeting this evening. May I have a motion?
I'll motion.
Thank you, Francis. A second? Thank you, Tony. Comments or questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? I should have mentioned, but I'll mention now, that we are down one board member this evening. He is unwell, but maybe he's watching at home. If you are, hi, Ray. Okay. Serena, do you have the list for public comment? Anybody? Oh, nobody. Okay. All right. All right. So next on our agenda is public comment, which is the section of our meeting that allows residents of Duanesburg to make comments if they would like. No one has indicated a desire to do so, but some folks came in maybe after we grabbed this. So is there anyone in the audience that would like to make a comment before we move on to the next part of the agenda? People putting their fingers on their noses. Oh, come on up.
Yes. Yes.
I'm sure there's a Yockler, yes. We will find out. I bet that's Ben's someone. There's a Yockler everywhere. Yes. Very true. Okay. So next then, Board of Education minutes from our last meeting. Be it resolved upon the recommendation of the superintendent, the Board of Education approve the minutes of the regular meeting on April 8th, 2025. May I have a motion?
I'll motion.
Thank you, Alyssa. And second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Tony. Comments or questions? All in favor?
All right.
Aye.
Any
Aye.
opposed? Any abstentions? Okay. Next up, we have our presentations and reports, beginning with our elementary yearbook with Mrs. Veglia.
All right, can you hear me? Good, okay. So you're probably wondering why I gathered you all here today. Sorry. So other than reading intervention, I'm also the yearbook editor for the elementary school. There's not a whole lot to it, but we did have a new addition this year I thought you might like to hear about. So my job, being in the building, is to just during the year, attend events and things happening. I often just pop into classrooms, which some of these are like that bottom picture with all the children who grew mustaches. I just happened to notice a lot of mustaches in the hallway, and I inquired. And they were playing a prank on their teacher, Bob Lane, who teaches 4th grade. So I wouldn't let them go in the room until I grabbed the camera. I said, well, you have to wait. Got some field trips, and I try to get a range of, holidays and grade levels, learning activities. That one in the top left corner was a vocabulary activity I thought was extra neat. So sometimes I'll walk around, just take pictures of learning opportunities. So anything and everything, and I try my best to get, good candidates of as many different grade levels as I can. But some kids are running away from me, and others are approaching me, jumping in front of the lens, which is kind of the nice piece about working in the building and having this job. I know a lot of the kids, most of them, and they're pretty comfortable with me, so I do get a lot of, over here, take my picture. So there's always an abundance to work with. Yes. It was Go Pink. It was very appropriate for the day. She won. Yeah, she won the pink contest. And it turns into a yearbook. We use a software called Tree Ring. Not a lot to it. I upload pictures. I play with it. It's basically I get to play picture collage making during my prep time once in a while, and it's fun. This is the part that's new this year, and I think we are going to begin making it an annual event. With the help of the art teacher, Amanda Chauvin, I thought it might be fun to have the kids create the cover. So they are having a blind contest. They submitted cover pieces, no names, I think it was available to grades 3 through 6. And the kids and the staff and you, that's what the sticky note's for, are voting for your favorite cover. We still don't have a winner because we're still waiting for staff votes that went out today, but all the kids have voted, so boy, are they knocking on my door. Really frustrated that I won't give them an answer. So the winner will get their artwork on the cover. They get $50 and lots of bragging rights. So a lot of kids were very, very excited about this. So if you could be so kind as to take a minute, I know there's a lot of choices here, but the bulletin board itself has a bunch of them, but don't forget to look at 20 and 21 on the outside. Those were later submissions that we couldn't say no to. So take a peek, write down your favorite number, and I'll add it to the list. What's up? I can zoom on my beautiful touchscreen computer that the school provided. That's what I was thinking, but oh, here we go. So they also had the opportunity to create digital art. So some students chose that route. Yep. So 1, 2 has, it's a bunch of like inspirational quotes. They did a very nice job. I won't say, it's one of my favorites. I got a handful here. This one is the tree, and they've got the eagle there, 2025. I believe this says Duanesburg, New York right there. Number 4. 5. I know it's hard. Yes, I actually have a blank page in the front for, honorable mentions. So I've saved space for that, but I can't fill it out because I don't know who's going where. So 9 and 10. Here's 11. I'm trying to go in order so you remember which ones you're looking at. And no pressure. If you don't want to vote, you don't have to. But yes. Yeah, it's a bunch of kids looking out into the universe. That was, so Amanda helped come up with the requirements for the actual job, and having an eagle on there was part of the requirements. So sorry, 19. Yep. Here's 21. Welcome to our memories. Yep. Thought that was sweet. I like the little baby eagle we got going on. And then 21. You can't tell too well, the DES is made up of like school materials. The little baby in his nest. So if you can bear to pick one, write it down and I'll take the votes. Oh. How do they get them? The yearbooks? Oh, I've sent out Parent Square links, and they're available through the Tree Ring website. When I send out the link, it provides like a QR code or a link with a code to the school. That's about all I've got for you. That's about all there is to it. But it's fun. I enjoy doing it. Yeah. It's just the cover. It's just the cover. Nice.
That's good.
Thank you, Jenna. I really appreciate it. All right, while the voting continues, we are heading to high school yearbook with Ms. DeMarco and a bunch of lovely ladies.
Do I just like start it? All right. Hey guys. Hello. It's nice to see so many familiar faces in the crowd. All right, we're here with our yearbook hats on this time. Um, okay. So the yearbook, we meet every Wednesday after school. And it's a great experience. There's many benefits to it, encouraging school involvement, social interaction, capturing memories, and it's a lasting record of Dwaynesburg school years. There's lots of opportunities for us to work on the yearbook, but also take pictures and organize moments for like photography events. We get to be the paparazzi. I personally like that part. But yeah, it's a really great experience. So that's all I have to say.
Okay, I feel like yearbook also like inspires a passion and a thank you. I can't get it down. Thank you. I feel like yearbook also inspires a passion in a lot of people because when we're taking pictures or like for our pep rallies, a lot of people like really want to take the camera and take their own pictures. So I feel like it's a good opportunity for them to like get into photography and stuff, and it's for like creative freedom. But anyways, also we use Tree Ring, and it's a different app than we've used like a couple years ago. What was the one that we used? Johnston's is the one that we use. I can't pronounce it. I'm sorry. But the good thing about Tree Ring is that there's no minimum book orders, there's no contract, and it's way like cheaper. Like there's free pages for seniors now instead of like back then when they had to pay. No strict deadlines, easy access, and every student gets 2 free personalized pages. It actually is really easy to use. Like I don't know, I joined yearbook and like last year, and like within like the first week, like I was okay. Like Tree Ring is a really good app for that.
And so we've also been working on our community give back for our club this year. And one of the main things that we're doing is we've been doing free advertising for local businesses. We sent out, like, I think yesterday or 2 or 3 days ago, we sent out a, like, parent square to everybody about free advertising. So we're giving away free ads to any local businesses who want to be featured in the yearbook. And we already have, I think, 6 businesses who have submitted their ads for the yearbook. So we're doing that. And we're also donating yearbooks to the Dwaynesburg Historical Society and the Quaker Street Library. And we're finally donating yearbooks to the library again because apparently the library is missing a bunch of yearbooks. So we're trying to get back on that.
And these are the yearbooks for the past 2 years because this is when we started using tree ring. So the one from 2022, 2023, our theme was like retro. So like we had like records and like stuff like that, and we were trying to going for like 80s or 90s type thing. And then last year we did the theme and it was like the photo reel. So we had like Polaroids and like the photo strips, like the cover, and it was a lot of fun. And then this year our theme is Spotify Wrapped. So if you don't know, Spotify is like a app to play music. So like we have like the format of like the music and like album covers and stuff like that. And we're also adding like the Spotify code so you can scan it and it'll play a song on Spotify. So like all the sports teams got to pick songs. And yeah, it's a lot of fun. And then these are just some of the events that we've covered. Pep rallies, of course. We have people go to sporting events and take photos. And then all our spirit weeks get covered. And it's just a lot of fun. I feel like it builds a lot of like camaraderie within the school. Like everyone wants to be featured. Like it's just a lot of fun. And we hope in the future to just bring more like camaraderie and like bring everybody together. Oh,
It's a hardcover. Yep. It's about 178 pages. Um, Mainly sports, clubs, pep rally, seniors. Yes, seniors each get their own page. It used to cost them like $300 to $400 just for a page. Now it's free for them, so they can create their own. And then parents can also put in like recognition ads, so they can recognize their seniors. Yeah. What's that? I know that's the thing is you get into it and you have all these cute pictures you want to put in. Yeah, it's. I have a senior this year also, so that's what I've been doing too is creating her page. So. Any other questions? Thank you. We're hoping for somebody. We haven't decided on the cover this year yet, but because nobody really gets. We tried to do the contest thing, but nobody puts in. We had 2 people, and each time Brooke has won, and so she got a free yearbook. So, so yeah. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, thank you to both of our yearbook clubs and advisors. Next, we have Mr. Goodwin, right, up for our capital project update. This is CJ Goodwin from Schoolhouse, right? All right, I just had the right company. That's good.
How's everybody?
Good.
So are we going to talk resolutions as well, or do you want to do that with your vote? We can do that, okay. So we've been steadily working towards bidding the next phase of the project that was voted on several years ago. We finished phase 1, which is the playground, and then doing the roof at the elementary school. And now we're on to phase 2, which is renovations at both the elementary school, the high school, and the bus garage. We accepted bids earlier in April. We've vetted the contractors, we've interviewed them, talked through their bids, and a lot of that is summarized. If you guys have our award letter in your board docs there, you'll see all those interview processes attached to that as well. The important piece is you'll see our budget summary that's in there, which basically is a long-winded way to say, as you get to the bottom of that, your contract value is about $18 million, which is on budget. So we have 4 contractors plus Day Automation, who's doing some PA work through the building at the elementary school. Those items on budget, you're gonna have a resolution there to award these contracts. You're gonna have another resolution in there for what we call third-party testing, which is basically third-party items that we do in support of the construction process. So they're things like structural testing, HVAC monitoring, commissioning, and things like that, as well as because the buildings are old, you guys still have asbestos in the buildings. We have to hire an air monitor whenever we abate those items. They're an independent person, basically, that makes sure that the work that's being done is being done safely, whether school's in session or not. And then they run air tests before and after to make sure the air that was in the building was just the same as the air now that things have been abated. So you'll see those in there. That's a separate resolution you guys will approve today as well. The last 2 things you'll see today, there are 2 change orders for this. So we worked with the contractors trying to pull some value out of the bids that were there for items that we wanted to do to make sure we could support some roof work. And so you're gonna see those 2 things on there. They total about $200,000. So there's 2 separate resolutions, I believe, from my conversations earlier, that you guys would approve those independently. And then that'll really be the last of your pieces for this project. The next steps after that is, I'm gonna stay. I'm gonna assume right this second, everybody will vote yes, because it's fantastic for everybody. The next step after that is we'll put letters out to all these contractors, basically telling them you can proceed with your work, we can start the process while contracts are being written. And the architect, who's Ashley McGraw, will start writing those contracts. We'll start scheduling meetings for scheduling, ordering materials and things like that, so that come end of June, when everybody's starting to filter out of the buildings, we can get going. So, any questions?
I have one comment,
Yeah,
and that
go
is
for it.
that every child I have spoken to is
Okay.
thrilled about the new playground. So
I'm
thank
happy
you.
that they're finally on it myself.
Very, very
Good.
excited about it.
Good.
Yes.
Next is a time capsule, I believe, and if you need somebody to dig a hole, I'm sure there'll be somebody here that can do it now. It's always the easiest part. He's good at it. Any other questions?
Yeah, CJ, I don't know if this is the appropriate task at this point,
you're
but do we know with the contracts you're talking about going out to bid for in this next phase? Do we know relatively how close we are from when we did vote on this project and our numbers to what we're seeing?
You're a little
We're
higher.
Like,
So
can you give me an idea percentage-wise where you think we're
yeah,
landing now?
10-ish%.
10%
And so
higher?
you guys hit a really good spot, maybe a lucky spot. We kind of squeaked in at the beginning of the whole tariff fear and all of that, which was really what has been driving a lot of pricing now. Nobody knew what was going to happen while all that was going down. So we hit a window where we had projects before this that were seeing 20 or 25% more. As we were bidding, we luckily hit the sort of the tail end of that, where everybody was starting to understand a little bit better what that was looking like. So it still went up, but it didn't shoot like a lot of the other ones. We've also been lucky to have some projects locally that have sort of been lower than what we were estimating, but that wasn't because of tariffs. That was because it was paving, track work. It's sort of one summer things. Once you hit a multi-summer, it gets a little more complicated.
Fair enough. Okay, thank you.
Yeah. Anyone else?
I think so. Thank you so much for
Yeah, no problem.
coming to update us like this. It's very helpful.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Thanks. Okay, next up we have our superintendent's report.
Well, good evening. Very brief. At 6 o'clock, we met with some community members regarding the elementary principal timeline for interview teams. We got some great feedback. I will let Tricia know that we'll adjust times that make sense for folks who are working so that they can participate in those interview panels. So we'll look at that tomorrow. Tricia's in tomorrow, and we'll get that out to the community. Right now, we have about 17 people, both internally and externally, for interviewing. We like to see about 30. So we have 3 panels of 10. As I've shared with the board kind of bookends the process with me. I'm with the board. We do the screening. Melissa and I do the screening, and then at the end, the board will have an opportunity to interview, hopefully, the selected candidate with a presentation. so that we can wrap up and they, by June 1st. As we get closer, we'll probably have to have a special meeting because if we wait till the first meeting in June and then they have to give notice, most folks who are working have to give 30 days. So very pleased. We had 28 applicants total. And the leadership team narrowed down to 10 applicants, looking at what the community feedback was about longevity and instructional support and managerial support and engagement and communication. And we're able to narrow down to the 10. Melissa and I, hopefully next week, are going to screen those 10 applicants where we meet with them for 20 minutes to a half an hour. And then from there, those 10 will go to 6. And those 6 will go through 3 each night. We'll go through the rotation of the panels. Hoping to shoot for the last week in May for the board to be able to interview that person. And then we can get them appointed. So other than that, I do want to just comment really quickly about the, Melissa had mentioned the accident that we experienced yesterday. Again, want to echo how proud I am of our transportation crew, of the Schoharie County Sheriff's Department, because it was right on the line, as well as the state troopers, and then even our own SRO, Dave Smith, went. Even though it wasn't his jurisdiction, he was incredibly helpful, giving us guidance like, hey, make sure you ask for this, ask for that. They were wonderful. The kids, we've watched the audio, and I'll share the audio and the video with the board later tonight in executive, but immediately, it was, after it happened, the first words we heard were fish sticks, which we thought was kind of cute. One of the kids chatted fish sticks, and then the next was them really concerned about whomever was in the car. We had one of our students who was following the bus to CTE and was the first one to go to that car and try and get the passenger out. So this is just a testament of our kids in the community, right? It was all about the person in that car and care for them. And luckily, everyone was safe. And the driver, even though he was a little sore today, it could have been much worse. And the police have confirmed, just so that the community knows, and it's on record, that the video is very, very clear that the person in that car ran the red light, didn't stop, and that's how the accident happened. So I know people were concerned about it, but unfortunately, sometimes if you're not familiar with 7 and 30, go down 7 a little bit further where it goes to 30A. That's why they made it a 4-way stop, because that bus with the pumpkin patch going to the pumpkin patch like 20 years ago. So if you're not familiar with that, I could see how you would not realize that it's a 2-way stop and a 2-way yellow. So again, we're very grateful for whatever was looking over our children to protect them. And when I went and spoke to the passenger, she actually, her first thing, she was so apologetic. She said, the children. I said, they're fine. They're okay. They're worried about you. So other than that, just want to, and I know Jeff's going to present more on the budget. We've asked CJ to come back to our next meeting. We actually have another bond that's maturing, and as we do capital projects, that they all wrap around bonds maturing to keep financials stable. So we're looking at another technically tax neutral bond to keep the second smaller bond. So he's going to come back in our May meeting. Jeff and I met with the financial advisors today because it takes a lot to kind of wrap your head around, and the simplest way I can say is that we actually have to start thinking about the next smaller project, and CJ is going to kind of walk us through it. We know what we have to focus on is finishing the roofing and electricity to the bus garage and electricity for electric vehicles in each building. So like we know what's coming. They might kick the can down a little bit, but we have to at least try and get that up and going, and as well as having service at each of the buildings, because think about it, buses come and visit for athletics, and they need to plug in when they come to the building. So that'll kind of be the priority, but luckily CJ's free and he can walk us through about what's the best time to go out and educate the community about this next bond maturing. Any questions?
This
Yeah,
is for you.
Oh, sorry.
It's for you and Jeff, really.
Mhm.
So sounds like the bus did its job, but
Yes.
it's totaled. where insurance getting us a new bus?
They haven't come yet, have they?
So the insurance company hasn't come yet but Jeremy's initial take on the bus was that the frame is bent, and in that case, DOT is not going to pass it for transporting students. So it's likely that it's going to get labeled as totaled, and because it was involved in such a significant crash, yeah. The whole front end was just destroyed. In fact, Jeremy had mentioned that parts from the front engine compartment had jammed into behind the dashboard. So there was a lot of moving parts there in that accident. So.
And I mean, I know we run a relatively lean transportation department. How big a deal is this sort of for scheduling things until we get a new bus?
We do have a spare bus of that size. So I asked Jeremy yesterday if we had enough, and he was confident that he had one spare bus that was actually, he was going to fix yesterday, but because of what happened, it didn't get done. So he got it.
Unacceptable.
Got it done today. Yeah. So he did get it done today. But I do know that I have enough friends in other districts that I would definitely call out. Mahonison was, they actually let us borrow a bus a few years ago, if you remember, when we were short some buses. And even though we didn't have any diesel buses on the fleet, we did borrow one of the diesel buses from Mahonison, and we're very thankful for that. And I'm sure that I could probably try and figure something out like that again if it ever did occur.
We have great neighbors, and that's why you have insurance.
Yeah, we do. Absolutely.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Sarah, did you have a question? Sorry.
I was just for clarification for my own understanding, when you say the bond is maturing and then we have to go out again, is it kind of like refinancing a mortgage that's due? Is that sort of what we're talking about?
So
I'm trying to wrap my head around,
I
when we're
know, and I
talking.
think I'm with you. Like I said to the finance, and this isn't my first project, so you're
Yeah.
you kind of trying to wrap your head around a bond maturing and what that means, right? So the way I understand it, and probably Jeff, because again, it's not my first time at the rodeo, and I still ask them a lot of questions. So what happens is you have school districts or municipalities. It could be a library, it could be anything. Have bonds, and then when you start paying off the bond, what happens is it messes up with your tax levy and so Jeff, help me out and save me here because you're better at it.
Yeah, I can.
Thank you.
All
So,
right.
but all I know is
So-
if it matures, you've got to keep it stable. That's all I know.
So as you have debt that starts to fall off because you're getting close to the point where you're paying it off. The bond is a loan.
Mhm.
So if you think about it as a loan, so you have a loan that's falling off. So you pay off a car and then you decide that you're going to buy another car. So now you got two cars in your fleet, right? Or you put on a porch in your house and then you decide that you want to put another porch in the front. And so once you get done paying the back porch, then you're going to pay for the front, and you're going to pay for it on that same amount that you were paying for the other porch. So
Just basically trying to keep our debt
stable, correct.
consistent,
right.
because if we were to pay it off, then it would look like we don't quite need as much money in the budget.
Correct. Yep.
So I
But
think
we would probably need to, well, how would that work though, if we did do it that way, and then as things come up, we just put them in as budget line items?
So I think, and correct me if I'm wrong, so Sarah, I'm with you, so I'm still learning even though I've done this before. If a bond matures and you don't do a project to keep that bond stable, then it almost becomes because you get building aid, you get aid on it, on projects. So that's why we have to go through SCD and get approval. If again, correct me if I'm wrong, CJ's here too. If you don't keep that bond stable and do a project that keeps that bond stable, then it ends up, the community has to make up the difference in that money to keep the.
Your tax.
Oh, because the bond would allow you to be like, let's call it a $2 million loan, but then you're only servicing it at a smaller payment because the amortization. No.
I don't want to misinform. I'm sorry, Sarah.
I'm gonna try maybe to go way lower elevation.
Okay.
You guys have a loan, right, that you're paying off.
schools are in this weird spot now with the tax cap that they track, you can only hit whatever that maximum is, and there's a whole calculation that Jeff has to do that. What that had kind of created when that happened a decade ago, I think at this point, is when you retire that debt, we call it, and you stop paying that loan, you're in this position where your expenses have dropped, and let's say you decide not to move forward with a new project or a new loan. To do that in the future means you're going to have to increase your spending probably more than that 2% 5 years from now, let's say, if you decided to do that. So let's say you spend $10 million with your budget every year this year. I don't remember what your budget is, forgive me, but now it's going to be $9,800,000 because of your debt, and you've been paying $200,000 in your loans. And say your next project pushes you to 12 million, and that may be 5% on your tax cap instead of 2, then you would land in this spot where you have to, I think, vote supermajority to get that big of a tax impact pushed through your budget. So what most schools have been doing is, as they retire debt, instead of taking that $200,000 and saying, hey, our budget this year will be $200,000 less, they're leveraging that 200,000 to say we can do a $5 million project at no tax impact, so there's no local share, to do $5 million worth of work, because there will never be a situation in any of these buildings where you don't have something that has to get done. It's a thought process to an end. It is, for some, not the right answer. It's tough. You guys are in a tough spot because you're a smaller school. A Shaker or whatever, they could ask their 100,000 people to do a $5 million project as a transfer, pay cash for it, call it a day. You guys, that would probably be a whole thing and a whole project. Do you know what I mean? So
No, but like when you're done paying a loan and it goes away, and then you need another one.
Yep.
Usually, you just wait till we need that thing. We don't
Right.
just, oh shoot, now my $500 car payment is
Great.
falling off. I want another one.
And
I'm
so the way you're thinking is not wrong. What you're not knowing, or maybe not have been a part of, is that process of thinking, hey, we know what's next, is already happens. And that's been happening well before even I started this profession. And they do building condition surveys.
That's what I was just going to say.
I'm
Every
sure you
5
guys have
years,
heard of
yeah.
some of that as you guys have been through this. So every 5 years, your district is required to do a building condition survey, which is a design professional walks through any district-owned property, and they have a 25-page questionnaire, we'll call it. It's like 140 items that basically rate everything in your building, from flooring to roofs to mechanical systems, fire alarm systems, if you have a sprinkler system, which you do, etc., electrical systems, and you put a degree of it's acceptable, it's not acceptable, it's so bad it has to be replaced right this second. You guys have been doing that since 2005, and it's been happening every 5 years. So you have this continuing list of things that have been in varying degrees of acceptable or not, and those are being tracked through what they would pretty much call your 5-year master plan, which kind of coincides with that process. And so there are already things that I'm sure are on your list that you probably have long forgotten 4 years ago, because you guys could only do 28 million. I don't say that like it's a bad thing. That's a huge project. For any district, that's a large project. But there's still probably $75 million worth of things to do.
deferred maintenance.
For
and things like that.
maintenance and things like that. Because the other thing you have to remember is the bond process is 15 to 20 years. So if you're doing a new addition, I think it's 15. If you're doing new work, if you're doing renovations to existing things, it's 20 years.
Meaning we have 20
You
year
have 20 years to
period.
pay that bond back, that
Right.
20-year loan period. Yep.
I mean, and in that 5 years since the building thing
Yeah.
was the electric mandate.
I'm
Right.
sorry, Francis, what?
In the 5 years since our last building condition survey was the mandate for electric buses, which we're not prepared for.
I think
At
nobody
all.
is.
Well,
including
but we
including
didn't
the state.
know. That's not
So-
on our
No.
list.
I don't think the state's ready either,
Yeah.
but we're
What
going to
I-
go with it.
What I would say
So
is
it's not even on the list.
your car analogy is the right analogy, but it's like understanding that your car has run through its useful life in that 5 years or 10 years or 20 years that you use it the whole time. You know at the end of that, you're going to need the next one.
So you're basically telling yourself, hey, either I'm getting a new loan immediately or I'm just going to keep putting that amount away.
You're in a...
But we can't do that as a school district.
Exactly.
We can't save.
Right.
So we
Right.
have to create another bond.
You are making a decision,
fill that.
subconsciously or consciously, however you want to look at it, to defer a future project that may not cost you maybe more, but will impact your taxes more.
Right.
Okay.
That's sort of the game you're playing now, and it's unfortunately a game.
And ultimately,
Yeah.
it's to limit the tax impact on taxpayers.
Right. Every
Right.
year, your
Yeah.
goal, I assume,
to
is
be
to
ze-
have
to
the
be-
lowest amount of tax impact for your voters. This is unfortunately one of those ways where you keep that process going positively.
Yeah.
Because if you don't, whenever you decide 10 years from now, 5 years from now, it's going to be, things won't get cheaper. And now you're going to have to take on more debt because you aren't using any line in your budget to pay debt.
So Sarah, I like to think
Yeah.
about it, again, as I wrap my brain, and this is why I'm the instructional leader. If you let the bond fall off and we save $200,000, so each homeowner maybe saves $100 on taxes each year. 5-6 years from now, because we're bound to that condition survey, because it gets submitted to SED. So 5-6 years from now, so maybe folks saved $100 for 5 years, but now we're faced with looking to the taxpayers to have to pay $1,000 more. Does that make?
Well, it does. No, I see it. It almost seems the same. You know, either
Yeah,
whether you
yeah.
choose to amortize it out or just have a couple years of
Right.
saving and then spend it when you need to.
I think the scarier part is, in the part we don't really know, is our debt load is a part of a lot of those calculations that goes in the amount of aid we get and our tax cap.
So is that the bigger thing here? If we don't have that debt line item on there, it doesn't look like we need quite as much of a budget.
It's part of
which
the
would
tax cap
actually be
calculation,
false
so it
because we
reduces.
need to do this deferred
Right.
maintenance, capital expenditure type
Yeah.
improvements.
If your budget line item for debt is $500,000 a year,
Sure.
and after this matures or expires or falls off, however you want to say it, becomes $100,000, you're basically 400,000 of that goes back to the people, but it's money they don't know they have. And when it comes forward again, it becomes a $500,000 burden instead of a $100,000 burden. Does that make?
Yeah,
maybe-
because they got,
Because
instead
they
of
get
a
kinda-
slight steady
you
increase,
got it. It
you had
becomes
a
a
little
spike.
bit of a reset,
Right.
and then at some point you
But
get
I was
back.
going to say, so fiscal advisors would do a 100% better job explaining this because they would have.
You did great,
the-
CJ.
You did
I
well,
appreciate
thank
it.
you.
But
You did
they would
great job.
have. That's their thing.
They came in when we did
Okay.
the bus loop project,
Okay.
and because that was a tax neutral capital
Okay.
project, and they did a really good job sort of breaking down why you got to keep these
Right.
things alive.
And not to jump the gun, that's usually part of what is the process. So whenever we decide we want to move forward, there's a whole slew of steps between, hey, yes, we're interested in doing whatever the next project is, to that vote. And, there's a whole process in that you guys are involved in, that we kind of present along the way so that you guys make sure that it's the things you want in a project, that it's the amount you want in a project, and that it can be supported, one, by aid. You want to maximize all the things you're going to do to get the most amount of aid. Fiscal advisors is very good at that. They're going to hone in on those line items and make sure that you're doing things that are going to get you that maximum amount of aid. So,
And as you guys all probably remember, right, we start talking about now, the construction probably won't happen until 2028.
Right.
It takes,
Yeah.
it's a long process. So in May, we asked CJ to come back, talk about timing, so that the board can make a decision about timing.
and the debt that's probably retiring is the building we watched go up.
Mhm.
So enjoy that for the night.
Thanks, CJ. Okay, that's all I got. Any other questions? Thanks, guys.
Okay. Next up, we have Mr. Ivanberg, Assistant Superintendent Management Services report.
you hear me or no? Hello? Oh, there we go. All right. All right. So tonight, the budget proposal for the Board of Education for the budget adoption. We've reached a conclusion of 20,686,000, and that'll be it's a budget to budget increase of 1.243 million, or 6.39 million, or 6.39% from budget to budget. So this year's budget, the current budget in the 24-25 school year is 19,443,000. But the tax, looking into next year, we're looking at if you remember back to the tax cap calculation, it allows us to increase the taxes up to 3.2%. That gives us an overall dollar amount of 287,125. And then, so this is an overall look at the categories of the budget that I discussed during work sessions. You can see a huge percent, or a huge portion of that increase is actually due to debt service. However, going back to our conversation here, that's offset with building aid. So as the debt service goes up, so does the building aid in alignment with that. So another huge portion of our budget increase would be the instructional line, and then benefits, as we had our health insurance. When we had talked about health insurance originally, it looked like it was going to be anywhere from 6 to 9%. We were fortunate enough to fall right into that 6%. So we've done pretty well with the benefits, even though it is increasing a lot. There's other benefits that are also a part of that category. Operations and maintenance, and then transportation, we've increased very minimally, and then general support falls in line there too, just below the medical and benefits line. So I will mention that about 3.86% of the budget, if you were to exclude the debt service, is just the actual increase. So we were looking at a 6.39%. It looks like such a huge number, but the reality is, I've gone through and trimmed a lot of extra things that look like they were generating additional or too much funds or fund balance. So we've really done some trimming here on the budget as well. So that's why we're only seeing a 3.86%. And during work sessions, I had said, there's things that are increasing somewhere around 5-6%, and to see our overall budget increase at significantly less than that, I think that we're in a good shape to move on for next year.
And even with that, that's the 209,000 that's like contractually obligated for medical and dental.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's all tied to our health contracts. That's also includes retirement systems, workers' compensation, and Social Security. So all of those things fall into that category. It's a huge portion of it. Of course, health insurance is about half of that. But all of those are obligations that we must meet.
And remind me, instructional went up that much mostly because of, do we add staff, or was this
No,
just
it's
contractual increases?
just really contractual increases. And a majority of our obligations are obviously to pay staff. So that's a majority of what it will be. And also there's other contractual obligations that we have to meet with organizations that we use to provide services for kids, where we send kids out. This also includes special education services. So there's a lot of other services that we're getting just for kids in that category that requires us to go up.
And then I'm going to ask the question, none of that's eatable?
Well, and some of it is,
ahead.
right? Because in instructional, you have BOCES services that we're using for not just for special education, but we're using it also for some of the professional developments that we subscribe to through BOCES, and
Software, technology, things
exactly.
like that. So that's all aidable, and that goes in that instructional.
But even with the aidable, like we're talking a net number here, right? So even if we factor all that aidable in, we're still.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yep. So this is our this is just a pie chart, just showing the comparison of those categories that I showed on the previous slide. Just kind of wanted to get a visual that a majority of our budget is the instructional portion of our is the instructional side, followed by the other large portion, the medical and benefits. This is the projected revenue. I took a look at where we are this year, and we've done well with interest and earnings. So I increased the assumption on our interest for invested funds for next year. Property taxes and state aid are your two largest sources of revenue for the district. It's not like we have any other large companies, organizations, or any pilot agreements with any other huge, sources of revenue. So we have to offset whatever the difference is with either hopefully balancing with fund balance or increasing the property taxes. And then also last year during our budget sessions, we did talk about raising the reserve funded amount. We're going to leave it the same as at $100,000, but then we've increased the fund balance use just slightly, just because we've done well this year. And I will add that back earlier this year, we received that grant from the state, the bullet aid grant. We've done well with interest this year, and also the NEHIT consolidation. We finally got the money back from NEHIT. And I think that when you look at NEHIT and you look at the bullet grant, and potentially even the interest earnings this year, those all might be one-hit wonders, because we're not going to get interest, or we're not going to get NEHIT next year. It's gone. And the bullet grants, I'm not sure what the state's going to do, so it's kind of hard to forecast that. And interest rates have declined, and they're steadily declining on a regular basis. I'm watching it as much as I was really happy every time I signed into New York class and seeing over 5% interest earnings. It's hurting me now. It's down in 4%. So
When was it? How? And that was compounded how often? What was the compounding schedule on that, Jeff?
it was 5.57% or something like that for quite some time during, yeah. So especially I think it was like back in the fall at the end of the summer, it was very high. So it was really cool to see all that interest come in, but that's partially how we're gonna save on paying or taking out more debt for this portion of the capital project. So I've also said to our fiscal advisors, I'd like to take $400,000 that we earned on interest and put that towards the loan instead. So we're not going to borrow that. So because we've invested those funds, now we're going to pay less. And so it's exciting. I mean, I hope that we get more interest, but I am still going to, obviously I'm increasing what our assumption is, but who knows where we're going to be, because I know that they're warning that interest is going to go down. So
Maybe this might be a question for everybody, but I'm just looking at this, and the only thing it looks like we might be able to try to talk about or change anything on would be other revenue. And we've decided to accept tuition for like out of district students.
yeah.
I guess it's something, but how feasible is it to rent out space? Like I'm just trying to think, what can we do to generate some more revenue to help where the position we're in, and these added expenses? What can we do to use our asset to generate
just so
more
I
for
want to
us?
make sure so your
Yeah.
question is about what could we do to generate more revenue? One of the things that we could consider as we move sixth grade up here, and I shared with the board, by the way, that the state approved that. BOCES is always looking to rent space to do those self-contained classrooms. I don't remember what the going rate is, but I think it's around $20,000 a year. And they supply their own teachers, their own social workers, and they actually, and their special classes. So at the elementary, middle, or high school, it could be an 8-1-2, 8 students, 1 teacher, 2 paraprofessionals. School districts would bus their children here, and in my experience, it's been a wonderful experience that the teachers are top notch. They really run great programs. So that's, one option that we might want to consider as we free up some space. We don't have a lot of tuition students here per se.
We have 2 in UPK right now.
2 in UPK, pre-K. But Sarah, this is kind of exciting. Now that we are, we're going to have a full related service team of, we actually are doing final rounds of school psychologists, and we have a PT, a full-time PT. We have a full-time speech pathologist, our employees. We now can contract with the county for them to do evaluations and services for our preschool students, and then the county pays us. So normally when it's a preschool student, maybe Whispering Pines will do the evaluation, and then the county pays them, and that's like the psycho ed eval, the speech eval, the OT PT eval. But because now we have a full team, Schenectady County requires you have a full team. Danielle's got the paperwork ready to go. We can basically contract for our folks to do those evaluations and or services if they're in our building. Say they need speech, and then the county pays us to do those services.
Okay, and you said there's a need for this?
Oh, there's a huge need. There's actually wait lists for speech providers, PT providers, evaluations. And Danielle, I think you had said, so in state regs require that once a parent puts in a request for an evaluation, it's supposed to be done in 60 days. All districts across the state are not meeting that mandate of 60 days. And I think Danielle at one point said there was like a 3-month wait list to get a speech provider.
Yeah, this is a huge problem across the state, well, actually across the country, I'm sure, but it is a huge problem, and we are obligated to provide those assessments. So with a team, to be able to provide those assessments and then generate revenue from that is a great thing. It's great for us, certainly economically, obviously, but more importantly, from my perspective, it's great for the children that are waiting to be evaluated who need early intervention services, because those services are going to set them up to be successful when they get to school. So it's a huge, huge problem and a huge need.
Which, having them set up properly before they come to school means we can identify the costs ahead of time a little better and sort of understand what the needs are going to be.
So we're continually looking for revenue, obviously sources of revenue. Based on your question, those are 2 things that I was thinking forward for the next coming school year. To offset costs, Jeff and I are looking at NYSERDA grants, especially with this electrification, and kind of working through that. So always constantly, trying to find other unique ways to offset.
Okay, thanks.
Yes, you're welcome.
So I just wanted to show you this slide where we're at with state aid. It hasn't changed at all. So I included the letter from SED in the portion where I have my presentation tonight, and the advisement from the state was basically press onward and adopt your budgets with what you know, because the state budget has still not passed. And it looks like they're going to have another budget extender that just keeps it on going until next, May 7th, which is after the day of the public hearing. So this could just drag on right now at this point. And so they just told us to go with what we know. So this is just a graph, or pie graph of basically what of the previous slide of the revenues. showing that largest portions of our revenue are the state aid and the property taxes. So when we don't receive one, we have to balance it out with the other. And since the state gets to decide how much they give us, we have to make up the rest in difference with either taxes or pulling money from savings. So with this budget, we've done both to balance that out, increase the property taxes, and not exceeding the tax cap, and then also using fund balance and savings to balance the budget and fill that gap. Plus, so the last time that we did have a work session, we did have quite a gap, and that that gap was pretty small compared to so the increase for the fund balance use for next year was pretty minimal compared to where we were looking after things started to settle and contracts started to, it looked like we had a place to land. This is the component budget summary, the three-part budget, the administrative, the program, and the capital. We discussed that during one of the work sessions, but I just showing you that also for the budget adoption. And this will also be in the newsletters and publications that we put out to the community. And then the propositions on the May 20th vote will be for the budget vote. And the school bus purchases for 2 school buses up to a maximum cost of $230,000. So we reduced that significantly this year because we're only buying 2 buses. And then to establish a repair reserve up to $300,000. Moving forward, the public budget hearing will be May 6th. Meet the Candidates Night is planned for May 15th, and then the budget vote on May 20th. This is just some data here, just to, I think I might have put this up on one of our other prior slides, but if you look in comparison to some of our neighboring schools, we seem to do more with less. So per pupil, we're the ones on the very right there compared to some other schools that are similar in size. And then our enrollment for next year is still actually projected to be up, to increase a little bit, because as many of the other schools in the region, they're also seeing that uptick in that pre-K level go up a little bit. So that steady decline that we had over the years, just over the past couple years, it seems to have steadied out and leveled out. So it seems good to, that we haven't seen such a decline like we were expecting about 5 years ago.
Bunch of houses being built too.
There is a few houses being built, yeah, exactly. So I don't think there's any housing developments, but it does look like there's properties being swooped up and, yeah, purchased. So even when people add on, that increases your taxes, so it adds to our it adds to our tax levy, or adds to our tax base.
So just to bounce back to Sarah's question before, on the revenue slide, it looked like we're getting $835,000 back from BOCES income into this year.
I went too far, sorry.
It's okay. There you go. Nope, the state aid, there you go.
Yep.
837.
Right.
And then everything that we purchase from BOCES, like, is it competitively priced, or how sometimes when there's a coupon, there's a situation where you might pay a little bit more for it to use the coupon. Is that anything in these numbers too? That
Sometimes yes, sometimes no. But when you look at the, I think the BOCES packet, I think it's around 50 cents on the dollar, right? So that's what your average is. And again, that all depends on which service you're getting from BOCES, whether you're getting 40%, 50%, or maybe 63%. It all depends on which service you're getting. Yeah.
Right.
So with a lot of the services that we purchase, like if we're purchasing technology from them, yes, they add their BOCES fee on that. There's a management fee for whatever we're purchasing. But if we're purchasing, maybe copy machines, right? They'll add maybe a couple $1,000s onto that price. but overall, you're still going to make out, and you're going to get that money back, you know, maybe 50% of that money back. So you're still.
So it's not a real number. It's kind of
You're
a
still,
little
yeah,
gray.
it,
Okay.
it depends on which coaster you're signing on to, yeah.
I understand.
Yeah.
Jeff, I meant to ask you this before this evening so that you could prepare it. So if you don't know, that's okay. But you've done a slide in the past of sort of like, what does this look like? What is the impact of that tax cap and that amount of money for an average household? Do you know that? Uh, Even just like generally, are we talking $400 a household in an increase with this? Or are we talking $100 a household?
So I don't want to spitball on this one, but I will, I'll address that at the May meeting.
Okay.
All right.
Yep.
So, because I might have brought it up at one of the prior work sessions, so you might see it in
yeah.
there. But I don't have it in front of me, so I apologize.
Okay, I meant to ask you earlier.
Yeah, so I can put that up at the May meeting.
Okay, thank you.
Absolutely. Sorry for that.
No, I should have asked earlier. I apologize.
I do have a question. I'm sorry. Are you done, Melissa? I don't want to interrupt you. Oh, okay, okay. So back to the projected revenue. State aid is a guessing game right now, right? Because state hasn't passed their budget. So my concern is if we don't get that $599,000, the change, which is an increase, right?
Yeah.
What did you say? I think you said it before. What will cover that if we don't get that $599,000?
We would likely have to try and make up for that in fund balance. But right now we're using the state aid runs based on what the projected were. Typically when the governor's run comes out, the budget doesn't come out at less than what the governor's run was.
Okay.
So the governor's run is usually our baseline guarantee, like this is what you're going to get.
Okay.
We have to get building aid. So some of that portion of that increase right there that you're seeing is our building aid.
Okay.
And because we've taken on and done the commitments for doing a building project, the state is obligated, well, I guess by
By law.
whatever
Yeah.
they want to do, right?
Yeah.
But as long as they follow with their obligations, then we have that increase to count also for.
You mentioned the other day that you're following advisement on that you were given guidance that that's the number you should go with, and
Yeah.
anything else from that is a bonus.
So that in reference to that letter that I had attached, that's the one that says, here's your baseline. This is what you should use. The last run that was in January, use that. Yeah.
I have one more question. Well, it's not a question. I found the slide. So my question is actually, is the information still accurate? It was from March 4th. Was that with a calculation?
Yeah, so
have you had a steady calculation?
Yep.
All right.
So that wouldn't have changed since then.
Okay.
But again, I want to say that that's just an estimate.
No, I know. No. Yep. Yep.
In no way, shape, or form the stone, what you should exactly expect.
Of course.
But
of
it
course.
is ballpark.
But I'll throw it out, right?
I've used that formula and checked my own tax bill and seen that it's close.
It's close, right?
Yeah.
Right. So for a house at $200,000, based on what we have here, a house that's worth full home value of $200,000, we're looking at $7.41 a month, $88.98 a year, give or take. 300,000, we're at $133 for the year, $11 a month. 400,000, we're at $14 a month.
Right.
I answered my own question. I wanted to make sure that was still accurate information.
Yeah,
so
it has
thank you.
that would not have changed at this point.
I have one more question.
Sure.
I don't know if I'm recalling correctly, but there used to be a federal aid section in your
Nope.
report? Okay.
No, because
okay.
what we are putting up the general budget
Okay.
only to the public. So that is the budget that you vote on, is the general budget, the A fund. We don't
Yeah,
vote on the F fund at all.
Okay. Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Any other questions? You have a question?
I was just gonna say,
Oh,
it looks
go
like, it looks like, I know it's been quite the season for you, and I know it's not done yet, but it looks like I think what we're gonna get, and all our growth seems like we can't control it, so it's what it is. Awesome, thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else have any questions?
Yeah, one thing just caught my eye on page 6, the state aid estimates.
Yep.
What's the one on the bottom? Building reorg incentive.
That's your building aid.
Oh, okay.
I
Got it.
consolidated the wording there.
Okay,
but
fair enough.
That's, in short, that's building aid.
Okay, thank you.
You can see actually that's the part of that, if you refer back to Avis's question, the $398,000 there, that's part of that increase that you see on that state aid. Okay.
Any other questions? Okay. Thank you, Jeff. This is a monumental undertaking every year. I appreciate all of what you do for this. And I also I think I say it every time, but I also really appreciate charts and then pie charts, and it like just helps me put my head around it in a more effective way. So thank you for taking the time to do that and explain this on a level that all of us, even if we're not mathematicians like Miss Almarosi over here, that we can understand what the heck we're doing over here. So thank you for that.
Absolutely.
Lost my place in the agenda, guys. Sorry. All right, here we are, though. Next item is policy, student board member application. So be it resolved, based upon the recommendation of the superintendent, the Board of Education approve policy number 1210, which again is student board member application, proposed policy. May I have a motion?
A motion.
Thank you, Francis. A second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Tony. Comments or questions? I'll ask Francis to
Let me comment on
yes,
this briefly.
please.
So New York State is mandating that we have a ex officio student on the school board starting next year. It's unclear entirely what that date is, based on what the discussion was having yesterday, but we need to prepare for that. And as part of it, one of the things the state's requiring is that there be a process to choose that student. It could be recommendations, it could be the president of student council, it could be whatever essentially the board chooses. Sort of based on our desire, our focus, our goals that I don't remember right this instant, to sort of allow people to step into roles. We've created this application for students, preferably seniors and juniors, because we're hoping to have a primary and an alternate, to join with the board. Won't be able to vote, but will be able to attend the board meetings, be a voice of the board inside the school, or at least a channel to the board inside the school. Wouldn't necessarily be able to speak for us, but would be able to at least understand what we're talking about. So this is an application form that collects essentially vital information, their home address, how to get in touch with them, a listing of extracurricular activities, and then 2 recommendations from teachers or staff. And then there is an interview portion where this is the part we'll figure out kind of based on the number of applicants we have, where the board will then interview this person. And let's hear sort of the 3 questions we're planning on sort of basing that interview around. We briefly had a discussion about having it be an essay, but we would rather see how this person sort of reacts. You know, this is primarily a communication role, and having them be able to answer a question and react is vital. So are there any questions on sort of what we've put together, or any thoughts on what it could be?
I'd just like to say, any students that are willing to be on the board, it's considered, I believe, community service, right? And it looks good on a resume for
absolutely.
after you leave high school. So I just wanted to say that, put that out there.
I also just mentioned that this is something that we've been talking about for a little bit. So now we sort of just have now you have a deadline, but this is something that we as a board have been wanting to implement for the last few years. So now we have to, but this is just sort of a holding us accountable to getting it done, but it's something that we've had on our radar. Any other questions? Okay, did the motion. So all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions?
All right, go get us some students.
Yes. Find the students. All those ones, oh no, not all of them are seniors that have been here the last few times, so maybe. Okay, next item. Do I have to, I'm sorry to not know this, but given that this is a BOCES vote, should I do these separately? Okay. So next item is for our BOCES vote. Be it resolved that the Board of Cooperative Educational Services of Albany, Schoharie, Schenectady, Saratoga Counties, ugh, I was not prepared for that, be authorized to expend the sums set forth in the administrative budget document in the total amount of $15,674,431 during the school year 25-26, excuse me, and to raise such sum by assessments to component school districts, non-component school districts, other BOCES, and other sources as required by law. May I have a motion?
A motion.
Thank you, Francis. A second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Alyssa. Comments or questions?
So the idea of this is that this $15 million is BOCES budget. And as a member of BOCES, we pay a partial of that fee. And we get to essentially, the same as we're on the school district's board, the school district is sort of on BOCES board and gets to have a say on whether or not they get to approve this administrative budget. This budget is for capital expenses, it's for staff, it's not necessarily for program funding, that's a different game, but it's more so that it's kind of our enrollment, in our agreement into the enrollment in the BOCES program, and that we understand that what they're spending money on outside of the programming. Just as an explanation of what we're seeing in front of us.
Okay, so this budget at 15.5 million plus isn't at all for the
No.
technical, of
No.
anything. This is just admin,
And
totally.
I don't have the flyer in front of me, but I believe our portion of that is something, excellent. Do they have an
Yeah.
estimate for our yearly fee of that?
So they actually, the whole entire proposed program budget is 180,207,848, or 88.8%. The 15 million that's on our agenda, or it's 7.7% for the administrative budget.
Do we have any idea what an increase this is from last year?
The flyer should probably say. I'm looking it up too. They gave us to us last meeting.
I don't think they did a comparison between, because I was actually looking for that. Oh,
They're
wait.
expecting.
Yes, it is. It's last year.
I don't know.
Oh, if it's not last year, then that might help us to
Yeah.
tell us what last year was.
According to their website, it's a 2.7% increase in assessments to districts. So I don't know what their expenditure increase is.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions?
I'm sorry,
Sorry,
I do.
no, go ahead.
So is BOCES also waiting, do they have state aid also that they are waiting for? Does anybody know?
Like for their budget?
I have absolutely no idea. I kind of wish I'd gone to the dinner now and known that.
I know. That's a great question. I'll get an answer for you.
Sorry, just thought of it.
No, I didn't even think about it. I would assume there's some things that they do get aid on because they're still held to the same tasks that we have to do. But I'll find out and I will, I'll put it in the weekly update.
Okay.
Okay.
All right.
Great
thank
question.
you.
Never thought about it.
Any other questions? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Aye.
Any abstentions? Okay, next item. Be it resolved that the Duanesburg Central School District Board of Education hereby cast its vote for the following candidates to fill 4 vacant seats on the Board of Cooperative Educational Services of Albany, Schoharie, Schenectady, Saratoga counties for the term of July 1, 2025 through June 30th, 2028. These 4 candidates are as listed, and they are the only 4 candidates to my knowledge, so they are running uncontested. May I have a motion?
I'll motion.
Thank you, Tony. A second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Sarah. Comments or questions?
Bruce has been there a long time. He's a great guy. He's also, actually, Bruce and Matt are both big members of the Schoharie County School Board Association and have been at many of the regionalization meetings. So it's awesome having local representation on that board.
Agreed. Any other comments or questions? All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Okay. Next item, I will do a, what's it called? When I do the all at once? A consent, okay. So next, we will do resolution based on the recommendation of the superintendent to accept financial items 9.01 through 9.06. May I have a motion?
Can we break these apart to vote on? Oops, I'm sorry. Can we break these apart to vote on?
Sure. Okay, so I'll start with number 1. You'll have to listen to me read a lot. I apologize. All right, number 901. Be it resolved based upon the recommendation of the superintendent, the Board of Education approves the following financial report as submitted. General ECA warrants A30 and EC14 dated 3/20. ECA Treasurer's Report dated 3/31. Treasurer's Report ending 3/31. And General and ECA warrants A31, EC15, and HQ12 dated 4/9. May I have a motion?
A motion.
Thank you, Francis. A second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Alyssa. Comments or questions?
I do have a question, I'm sorry.
No.
The warrants A30 and EC14, didn't we vote on that last meeting?
Yes, it didn't pass.
So will it go up for vote every time it doesn't pass? Is that how it works?
Yeah, because we're just voting on whether or not we received the report.